the way. Nice to see you guys.
Esainai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri Esainai el heharim me'ayin yavo ezri Ezri me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim va'aretz Ezri me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim va'aretz Ha'iten lamod raglecha Ayanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum velo ishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha Yom HaShemesh lo yakek v'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra Yishmor nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzeidcha Uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. We begin with the chanting and now the recitation of a psalm. This is Psalm 121, known in Hebrew as Shir LaMa'alot, a song for ascending. I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, your guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. God guards your going and coming now and forever. Al mekomo yavo v'shalom. May Alan go unto God in peace. Hatzur tamim palo kichol racha mishpat el emunah ve'inav el tzadik v'yasharhu. Tzadik Adonai lamidu lachayot asher b'yadcha b'gadon kol ruchot chililecha zichroneinu limchot v'yihiyu nainecha v'rachamim aleinu fekuchot ki lecha Adon harachamim ve'aslichot. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach yehi shem Adonai mevorach v'hu rachum yechaper avon v'lo yashchit v'hir bal hashiva po v'yurko chamato V'yashov ha'afar al haaretz shehaya v'ruach tashuv el ha'Elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May our beloved soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal, and may God send comfort to those who mourn and grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. And let us say, Amen. Thank you, everyone, for being here. For those who can't be here, thank you to those who are tuned in. This gentleman here with the black, just go a little bit this way. I'm sorry to single you out. I didn't mean for that, but thanks to everyone who's tuned in to the broadcast as well, and thank you to everyone who's here with us at the Shaarey Zedek Cemetery on a dreary day for a dreary occasion as we mark a tragedy and we celebrate a life at the same time. We are here together as family and friends and as a community to honor Alan Kluner, Avraham ben Zev Ufredel, the son of Bill and Phyllis. We are here to pay tribute to his life, to show him the ultimate respect of accompanying him to his final resting place, and to say goodbye. Last week, Alan passed away, suddenly and unexpectedly at the age of 66. He is survived by his family, his brother Martin and sister-in-law Risa, his sister-in-law Hannah, his nephews and niece and their families, Mickey and Stephanie, Mason, Lucy, Corey and Sean, their daughter Nora, Zev and Kristen, Remy and Enzo, Alana and Danny. He was predeceased by his parents and by his brother Carrie, of blessed memory. Zichronam Livracha. We will hear a number of eulogies today, so I will make my comments very brief. There's this reading they teach you about for funerals when you become a rabbi that I've never quoted before because I never really got it. So it says that in Ecclesiastes, our sages teach us, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to the banquet hall. For from the house of mourning, the living learn a moral lesson. I just never found it a good occasion to share this. And for some reason, Alan's passing strikes me as the occasion to bring this as a teaching to open up his service. It is tragic for someone to pass away at the age of 66. Alan battled health problems all of his life, for most of his life. Still, 66 is very, very young. We all know this. But today, in addition to celebrating him and everything that he stood for, not for dying young, but not for being sick, but for what he did when he was alive, makes us appreciate life as he did, but also appreciate life as we should. Alan loved family. He loved sports, music. He knew the value of passions. He was close with his mother. Smart. Just smart. To be close with your mother. He kept a small circle. But that just meant he kept an exclusive circle. The people in that circle know that he was very smart, but, as Marty said, a little awkward in the way that he got to being so smart. His resume and his work experiences is an eclectic a mix as he was a guy. The Canadian Diabetes Association, a travel agent, call center. I'll hand things over to his family. May his memory be a blessing, and may he rest in peace. First, we'll hear from his friends, Albert and Anna Gale. Then we'll hear from Mickey and from Martin as well.
Hi everyone. Alan Kluner. I have known Alan personally since about 1977 when we carpooled together to university. U of M was a long way from Garden City, West Kildonan, so we had to spend a lot of time picking the others up, then driving to U of M. During those hour-long rides, there and back, we became friends. At first, he was quite shy and uncertain, but eventually gained more confidence in himself and opened up to us. My husband, Henry, first met Alan around 1980 or so at a dance hosted by the Winnipeg Jewish Young Adult Group held at the Viscount Gord Hotel. It was then that Henry also met Albert and Aaron Summer of memory, blessed memory, and the four of them became buddies. We both remember Alan's sporty Javelin car with the 8-track cassette player. During our early 20s, before any of us got married, Alan enjoyed being involved with us and many other Jewish young adults in the social groups that were formed. Atah was one of them. It's called Atah. There were lots of fun times together, and we all made lots of new friends. He loved attending the dances, socials, bowling parties, curling, beach parties, etc. Fast forward to 1984, Henry and I got married on July 15th today. And Alan was in our wedding party. So 41 years ago, he was with us at the Beth Israel Synagogue taking photos before our wedding. And ironically, his funeral is on our anniversary. This past October, Alan and Robin attended our daughter's wedding, which we were very happy to have. Alan liked to kibitz around a lot and had a good sense of humor. He was very passionate about many things and was quite competitive. We used to get together and play board games, and Alan was practically unbeatable in Trivial Pursuit. He had a brilliant memory for all kinds of trivia, from sports to movies to politics. I think only Michael Lazar was better than him. Over the years, during each of his romantic relationships, Henry and I always connected with his partners and spent time with them as a couple. We tried to support him during the good times and the challenging times. Yes, he was very headstrong, but also very sensitive. He often confided in us about the challenges he experienced in his life. He had difficulty trusting others, therefore had just a small circle of close friends. More recently, Alan moved into a new apartment alone. He felt comfortable inviting Henry and I and Sharon and Albert to see his new place, even though it wasn't fully set up. And we helped him put together a few things, such as the coffee table, electric can opener, etc., and brought him a delicious home-cooked meal, which he thoroughly enjoyed. He did communicate with us often. The past few months, he expressed his loneliness and regretted losing contact with many people. He decided to join a 50s-plus social group, and in the short time he participated, he made a number of new friends. Alan liked being adventurous and loved to travel, attend concerts, rock concerts from the 80s, 70s, go out for dinners, spend time with his pets, etc. While reminiscing with a few old friends of Alan over the past few days, one friend mentioned he will always picture Alan's big smile. Another said he was always nice to him, and they had good conversations together. Yet another mentioned his sense of humor. I would like to close by saying that I know we all get wrapped up in our own lives, but please think about calling or texting an old friend that you haven't communicated with in a while. You may make their day. Life is too short to procrastinate. Sadly, Alan passed away at too young an age from his medical problems. Alan, we will miss you. We have been friends for almost 50 years. Thank you for all the generosity you've shown us. We had lots of laughs. Rest in peace.
First of all, Sharon and I would like to say that I know Alan was you and Henry were very special in Alan's life, and he was fortunate to have the two of you, like you said, during the good times and the times that weren't so good. You were very special friends to him.
My history with Alan started in the mid to late 1970s. Not quite as long as yours. I'm honored to share some fond memories of some of the fun and interesting activities and journeys that I remember. That I remember the smiles on Alan's face and on Henry's face and on Aaron Summers' face and on my face. So those were the good times. That's what we want to do today, is honor some of the special times that Alan enjoyed. I remember many interesting times that we did special things together. Many social activities, many sports activities, and many eating activities. That's what you do when you're in your 20s and 30s. And maybe a few other things that I won't mention, or Michael Azar said I shouldn't mention. I remember the baseball field at Morrison School, YMHA floor hockey, Kildonan Park football games. Like Annagil said, the Atah socials at Rushpina, the Shaarey Zedek socials, the Beth Israel social and religious events. I have fond memories of Aaron Summers, Henry, and I, and Alan, hanging out at one of our favorite bar and dancing hangouts at Uncle's downtown and Wellington's. For those of you that don't know Wellington's, it was the basement part. It was a bar at the famous St. Charles Hotel in Winnipeg. The famous St. Charles Hotel had two famous sides. I'm just talking about Alan's side in the basement, not the upstairs. We have many fun events there, a lot of dancing. Like people said, Alan loved sports, he loved dancing, and he loved connecting with others. One of our favorites was the Halloween socials at Wellington's. And one of our mutual friends at the time, A.B. Cates of blessed memory, was the one to take care of that. I won't tell you what Alan dressed up as. That will be maybe for a future discussion, maybe later today. Yes, Annagil does have a photo of Alan and Henry together. You'll have to figure out who is who in the picture. We also had some very famous road trips. I will come back to the road trip at the end. There's a very special road trip, Henry, right? 2, 3, 4. I'll get back to that. We also hung out at some famous Winnipeg icons on Main Street in the North End, Salisbury House, A&W. Alan also enjoyed, food after the social and dancing. I did lose touch with Alan, actually for a few decades almost. We chatted sometimes, or connected through Facebook, and we just reconnected this past year. But when we reconnected, it was sort of just like the old times. It didn't take very long, and we'll talk about that actually right now. Annagil mentioned we recently connected at Alan's new apartment that he was quite proud of. Was it a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom? I don't know. It was huge, but that's what Alan wanted. And I just remember Alan just seemed so relaxed and proud, and it really was almost like the good old days. Henry, Annagil, Sharon, and I, and Alan, and He was definitely smiling, enjoying Anna Gill's brisket and kasha. And I think there was a Winnipeg Jet game that night. So guess who put the TV on once we figured out how to get the TV to work. And then all of a sudden, while we were enjoying the kasha and the brisket, did you have a gravy? I can't remember. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just joking. Anyways, all of a sudden we hear a scream. Alan he yelled out, "There's Michael Lazar on TV." We thought that he lost it. But sure enough, Michael was there. He's got season tickets. And out of 15,000 people, Alan picked out Michael Lazar. And so we all stopped and we double-checked the recording, and he was right. Oh, that's right, you did, yeah. In fact, you would have thought that Michael was a celebrity or something, just the way he got so excited about it. I told you I'd be talking about you. Anyways, on that theme of Michael Lazar, just for us, I thought at the end of May I'd do a little prank on Alan. So it was Michael's birthday that day. And I think Alan and I had texted each other about going out for cottage cheese or salad or something. So I texted Alan, "Happy birthday." It was Michael's birthday. Alan texted me right back and said, "You got the wrong person. That's Michael Lazar's birthday." And I said, "Yes, I know." And then I saw a little LOL from him. I did that on purpose, so I'm sure he had a smile on that. On June 16th, or just before June 16th, I met Alan at a Salisbury House restaurant in the North End, and I think it was the first time that I had seen him in a while. Yeah, a few months ago. And anyways, Alan and I had a really nice time at the Salisbury House restaurant. Alan was talking and talking and talking, and I talked a little bit, and I was listening and listening. And after a few hours, we said we would get together later on. On June 16th, Sharon and I invited Henry and Alan to a Gold Eyes baseball game. And Alan was thrilled to come. Of course, sports are one of his passions. And to make a long story short, at the end of the ninth inning, it was tied. Sharon and I had to leave because we had to take somebody home. And Alan said, "I'm staying till the end." As it turned out, the overtime was the Gold Eyes won by a run. And I'm sure Alan was quite pleased. And the Gold Eyes were quite pleased because the Gold Eyes, sadly, after that, hardly won any games. But that was one game that they did win. And Alan was there to cheer them on. Finally, I'd just like to share a memory that Henry and I have of the foursome, Alan, Aaron, Henry, and I. It's called Room 234 and the Ice Cube Incident. At the Regency Inn in Grand Forks. I don't think the Jewish Post and News, Gail, reported that, but it is a special memory. It's because we keep bringing it up, and it happened, 45 years ago? I can't remember, but anyways, on one of our trips, the four of us ended up at the Regency Inn, and we went to out for the restaurant. We did some dancing. Probably at Alan's insistence, or actually we all probably enjoyed dancing then. I don't think we were married then, were we?
No, I think we were all married.
Yeah, but even if we were married, we probably would have had fun too. Anyways, we ended up in room 234, and we just had a great weekend there. We got along. We kibitzed, and we just had a really good time until, for some reason, I don't know if Alan got a little bit upset. Did he share your bed or my bed, Henry? I can't remember who. I don't know if that bothered him or... No, he slept with you. I slept with Aaron, I think. No, it was queen beds then.
Queen beds, okay.
Not double beds. Anyways, I've never seen Alan get this upset because he was just, easygoing person. He was headstrong, but anyways, Aaron picked up some ice cubes and put them down Alan's backside. Ice cubes. It melts, it's water. Alan got so upset that he ran after Aaron, and they were starting to punch each other. I was just laughing because I thought this was hilarious. Henry stepped in and he broke up the fight, and it took a little while till they calmed down. So we always remember that sort of fond room 234 ice cube incident, because it's rare that would happen. Why would people get upset over ice cubes? I mean, it's in any event, may his memory be a very special blessing to all of us and everyone that knew him.
Sorry to offend anyone here. I usually joke that I come to Winnipeg for funerals and hockey tournaments, and wish I was at a hockey tournament right now. My Uncle Alan was a kind and gentle man. He lived a simple life and was generous whenever he could be. He was a sports lover, but always had an enormous passion for music and attending concerts. My favorite story of him doesn't even include me, it's just one he told me. Many, many years ago, he was finishing up work, and it was into the evening, and he forgot that I think it was the Guess Who, he said, were playing at an outdoor concert in Winnipeg, and was very disappointed in himself. As everyone knows, he loved his concerts, and it had already started, and he drove to the stadium, and parked as close as he could, and sat on his hood of his car, and just sat there listening to the music all by himself, best he could. Just screams of how loyal of a person he was. Talked to Alan almost daily. Conversation, as you would expect, was much like it would be with my Baba, his mom, constantly complaining about his sports teams, primarily the Vikings and the Jets and sometimes the Bombers. How they continuously break his heart and will never win with this quarterback or this coach. My kids wore those team jerseys in honor of Alan today, considering that it's almost all that Alan ever wore. They were easy to find in our house, as I too am a big Vikings fan and my son's a diehard Jets fan. If Alan's planning to send something us from heaven, I'd really appreciate an important Vikings playoff win. I'm sure Alan would say that even that from heaven, he can't do the impossible. Although we live quite different lifestyles, Alan and I had much in common that brought us together. Both of our love for sports is already obvious. As most here know, he worked as a travel agent, which was an interesting choice for a period of time, I thought. Although he didn't travel as much as he would have liked, we've often talked about travels and cool places in the world. Most recently, he worked at RBC. I too was there for a lengthy period of time. Although we worked in different roles in cities, it didn't stop us from recreating the office water cooler talk on regular FaceTimes, complaining about the big bad bank. We shared some great times together, several Jets games over the years here in Winnipeg, seeing our Vikings at the new stadium in Minneapolis, and the weekend in Vegas. He and I recently had plans to go to Dublin this upcoming September to see the Vikings play an overseas game. I was more excited for him to go, knowing how much he was looking forward to it. Makes me sad that he won't be able to do that. As much as my dad and I spoke to Alan on a regular, his mom was always his true rock and safety net. He often told me how much he missed her. When she died in recent years, I feel a piece of him went with her. I know how much he really missed her and loved her. A week ago, while I was overseas, Alan and I had a long conversation. He had reached out that he was struggling with things. Towards the end of our talk, a plan was made for him to get a dog, an idea he'd been casually toying with. Although Alan recently went through a challenging and difficult separation, he had nearly 20 years of good in that marriage, most importantly with a friend and companion. When that ended, he tried very hard to find more of this through dates he went on and various social gatherings. He just wanted to be with someone, to have someone to spend time with. The last time I spoke to him was that conversation while I was traveling. But a week before he was found. It was the longest I hadn't talked to him in a long, long time. I don't feel guilty, but it breaks my heart knowing Alan died sad and alone. Nobody should feel like that. Especially such a kind and generous man like my uncle. I'll miss him dearly and may he rest in peace.
Looking around, I know Alan would be pleased to see so many friends and family here show up. So thank you for coming. It's an unsettling feeling to know that as the oldest brother, I am now the last surviving member of our immediate family. My father, Bill, passed away in 1985. My middle brother, Carrie, in 2001. My mother, Phyllis, more recently in 2021. And now Alan. All were too soon. Alan is now a part of 4 generations of Kluners that reside in this cemetery. Our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents are all here. The Kluner family have a lot of history here in Winnipeg and here in the cemetery. Alan and I were quite proud of that. Proud of the fact that we now have 7 generations of Kluners that lived in Canada and almost all here in Winnipeg. And my grandson Mason is the start of that 7th generation. Alan's passing was quite sudden and still a shock for all of us. It's always the good ones that go too early. Overall, I would say he had a very good life, despite some ongoing health challenges that he met head-on the majority of his life. He was more on the quiet side and kept a lot of things to himself, but had an engaging personality and could still party with the best of us, and often did. As you know, he loved his sports, and that was something that he and I shared, as we were both the same in that regard. We got that from our dad, as he was just like that. Our brother Carey also was a bit into sports, but music eventually consumed him. At a young age, Alan liked to follow after his 2 older brothers. As kids, I remember the 3 of us wrestled a lot. I usually won, as I was the biggest. Eventually, Alan grew a bit taller than Carrie and I and achieved the same height as my dad, and that's when I stopped wrestling with him. We We had a cottage at Winnipeg Beach for a number of years. Alan loved that as a kid. And I remember many days building sandcastles with him at the beach and hanging out at Playland. Some great memories. Perhaps that is why he liked eventually going to Mexico and hanging out at the beach. Alan also played some sports as a young kid. He was not as athletic nor a star athlete like his older brothers were, but he certainly was as competitive, and he always worked very hard at it. His working life was quite varied, as you heard a bit about. Over the years, he worked at a number of different companies and was always a hard worker and very dedicated. Some of those companies included the Canadian Diabetes Association, Manitoba Motor League, and finally his position with Royal Bank before he retired. Alan loved his nephews and nieces very much, Mickey and Corey and Zev and Alana, and loved being an uncle. In particular, he had a special relationship with Mickey, as you have already heard. All three brothers loved our music, and this was a big focus for Alan. Carrie became a top professional performer, but Alan and I just loved listening to music. Alan leaned a bit more towards the heavy rock side. I'm not quite sure how that happened. As you may have heard from Mickey, he loved in particular concerts, and I remember in particular Kiss and AC/DC were his favorites. Went to many of their concerts. Alan and I loved most of the same professional sports teams. We got this from our dad. We loved the Bombers, Jets, and Minnesota Vikings. He and I regularly text back and forth during most recent games as armchair quarterbacks, criticizing what should be changed as recently as last week. I will miss that. He didn't get the New York Yankees blood that I got from my dad, and somehow liked the Detroit Tigers, and I'm not sure how that happened. I mentioned he liked to party. I never realized quite how much until I saw a performance he put on while on a cruise ship with our family. My mother took her children and grandchildren on a cruise for her 80th birthday. Alan had a lot of fun partaking in some of the activities. One night they announced a hairy chest dancing contest for the men. Not many volunteered to participate, but Alan did. The image of him dancing down a stairway in front of hundreds of screaming people to the music, bare-chested, without that much hair, apparently is still ingrained in my mind. I can't seem to get rid of it. He did not win the contest, but boy did he compete. A few years back, he visited Risa and I during the winter to our place in Phoenix. He wanted to go to the golf tournament, so we went to the Phoenix Waste Management Open. I am a Tiger Woods guy. He's a Phil Mickelson guy. Most fans are either Tiger or Phil. Tiger was not there that day, but Phil was. Despite my not liking Phil, Alan convinced me to follow him around the grounds for a couple of hours. Alan just loved this. I have a fantastic picture of Alan right next to a tee box, with Phil only a few feet behind him getting ready for a shot. Another great memory I will always keep. Alan didn't travel extensively, but did a bit more in recent years since he retired. This was mostly trips to Mexico, Caribbean islands, and Cuba to get away from the beautiful Winnipeg winters. At a younger age, he went to Israel 2 times, once with our family for a full summer in 1972 when he was only 13 years old, and years later on a trip there with our mother. This was to visit our close family that we have in Israel all these years. I'm sure they're joining in with us today. He loved those trips. Not so much the second one. This is when he was diagnosed with diabetes for the first time. Alan had a fantastic memory for details, as he heard. He had a lot of useful and useless trivia stored up in that noggin of his. If I ever needed some information on somebody regarding the family trees that I maintain, Alan was my source. If I could not recall some sports information from the past, Alan was my guy. Often he would correct my recall, which is pretty good, but he would generally correct me. I will miss my go-to guy. Alan, on the plus side, you're now with Dad, Mom, and Carrie. I miss them too. All your friends and family will miss you. You were gone too soon. I love you.
Thank you, Martin, Mickey, Annie, Albert. Thank you for your eulogies, your beautiful words of tribute to Alan. I met him once. I did an unveiling for their mother, Phyllis, and he just wanted to talk about sports. Totally. And I met a lot of sports fans in my time. Fan is short for fanatic. People forget this. Sports fans, it occurs to me, are like snowflakes. We've all seen a million, but each one is unique. And today we say goodbye to a unique individual who will be missed, whose memory lives on and endures as a blessing in every life that he touched. Thank you, everyone, for being here to honor him today. We will now chant in Alan Kluner's honor and memory the traditional Jewish memorial prayer, the El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bameromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezohar Rakia Mazirim, and Nishmat Avram ben Zev Ufredo Shelach Leolamo Began Dente Menuchato Anabal Harachamim Hastireu Beseiter Kenafecha Leolamim Utzror Bitzror Achaim Enishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'yanuach B'shalom Al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Alan Kluner, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. There will be a meal of consolation after the conclusion of the service here at the cemetery at the Shaarey Zedek Synagogue, 561 Wellington Crescent. The family will be observing a private Shiva, but as I'm sure some of you have, I encourage you to continue to reach out to the family with your phone calls and texts and emails and messages to join your hearts together with them and help them through this difficult time as they have now entered into this period of grief and mourning. In a moment, we will conclude the service. The family will lead us. Everyone's invited to participate in shoveling earth into the grave. We'll recite the Kaddish and then close our service with this familiar ritual. There are different customs. Most people pour 3 shovelfuls of earth. Some people will use the front of the shovel. Some people will use the back. Some people will turn it midway. One of the explanations is if the backward shovel suggests displeasure with what God has done, a natural. Some people, when they're done, will return the shovel to the earth. Other people will pass it to the next person. The custom you know is the one we always encourage you to embrace, to infuse as much meaning as possible. But the whole idea behind shoveling is that we believe in Judaism that our loved ones deserve to be buried by our own hands. Kind hands, knowing hands, hands that held their hands. It's the end of the idea of accompanying a loved one to their final resting place, laying them to rest with our own hands. It's the way we can take care of somebody until the very end, something truly selfless, a mitzvah, the definition of a mitzvah, a selfless act we do without any hope of reward, to take care of another person. So again, the family will lead us and everyone can participate. Sometimes there's a bucket with a small pail, like a small pail with a shovel in case anyone, but I don't know if it's here, I can't see it. So do your best around the gravesite, always be very mindful, but you can come and line up on both sides. There are enough shovels on both sides. Earlier in the service, we said the words of Job, the epitome of suffering in Jewish tradition. We offer them again here in conclusion. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken, blessed be the name of God. We turn now to the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabam. Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace and harmony on high bring peace and harmony to us, to all Israel, and all of humanity. As together again, finally we say, Amen. To the family we offer the words, Hamakom yinachem irchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled among all those who are or who have ever been in mourning in our community. Thank you everyone for being here, and again to those who have tuned in, some from Israel and other parts around the world. Thank you to the family for the honor of being with you today, and encourage you to come forward and to lead us in the shoveling.